All right, so we've been having the great interception debate where quarterback throws an interception. Everybody wants to point at the quarterback. They just see the fact that he's throwing it to the other team, or they see the number in the stat line, and it's all about the quarterback. And so I love having this debate, and I love throwing these things out there. So Daniel Jones throws 3 interceptions last week. And the first reaction from everybody is, oh, there he is. There's Daniel Jones again. The Daniel Jones we expected to see at some point. They're playing behind. He's got to throw the football, and this is what's going to happen. He's coming back down to earth, or to the Daniel Jones that we thought he was. And this is the kind of stuff that just, in the narratives that just drive me crazy. So I thought, let's go inside these 3 interceptions and let's see what happened. Let's see, are these bad decisions, bad throws by Daniel Jones, or are there other factors that are involved? Okay, so we're going to come out here, and I'm not really sure even what the concept is down here. You've got 2 guys running, and they're kind of running into each other. Although Daniel's starting his eyes over here, so I'm assuming the progression starts here, especially because when you look at this on the backside, they're going to run a pivot, okay, and then they're going to chip the back and run him on a swing over here. Okay, so he's starting his eyes left, okay, and then he's working back to the right-hand side. And now the easiest thing here is to say, oh my gosh, what a terrible decision. When Daniel Jones comes back, he ends up hitting the defender in the numbers right here. And this is automatically what we're going to say is that's just a terrible decision by Daniel Jones. You know, you can't do that. He hit the defender right in the numbers. How is that even possible? Well, let's dive in a little bit deeper. Okay, so first I told you Daniel's eyes are to the left. Okay, so when your eyes are to the left, I know as much as we would love the quarterback to have to see everything, he's got to see everybody on the field. It's impossible to do. His eyes are left. He can see what's on the left side of the field. He doesn't know what's happening on the back side of the field. Okay, so it's look over here to the left. If you like it, take it. If not, you're going to work back to this pivot, and then you're going to work over here to this swing and work to the back side. Okay, so his eyes naturally are going to go to the pivot. Okay, so again, what's he seeing when he looks at the pivot? I know it's easy for us to think, well, you've got to see everything, and you should definitely see this guy here because he's sitting right there. But what Daniel's looking at when he comes back to see the pivot is he's looking at the relationship of these 2 guys. He's looking to see if his receiver is able to separate on the pivot, and if it is, he's going to throw the pivot to him. That's the relationship that he's looking at. And it's also trusting in the scheme. You don't expect this guy to be here. Why is that guy here? Well, he's there because the running back is right there. Now, I can guarantee you when they drew this up on paper, there was no chance that they said that running back's going to be there. They expected the running back to be out here, thus taking this guy out there because he's the guy covering man on the back. And so you clear that out. We have a pivot. Great. And now I'm in a position to be able to throw the pivot. What happens here, though, is as we go back, and this is one of those things that sometimes things happen in the course of a play that you don't necessarily draw up or expect. So what happens here is we're going to chip and help on TJ Watt here before we swing. That chip on TJ Watt messes up this whole concept because now the swing and the back and the pivot are in the exact same spot. So when DJ's looking at the guy that's covering the pivot, does the pivot beat his guy? He doesn't have any idea that the guy covering the back is going to be in that position as well. He's expecting that guy to be out of there, and the only guy left, oh, my pivot wins, I'm going to take it. And especially as this guy crosses over, he's going to assume that he's crossing over and matching to because the back is getting out there by the numbers, and he's just making this play. So we can blame it on Daniel Jones. You got to see that guy there. But there's also other factors here. Game's playing fast. I know what his relationship and what he's looking at with his pivot guy, and he's expecting the play to win for him. He's trusting the play that the back is going to get out here and he's going to pull his guy out there with it, and I'm going to be able to throw the pivot right there as he comes out of his break, probably as he did every time they ran it in practice. If he came back to the pivot, he hit it right there where he's hitting this one because everything else is out of there and we're not getting the chip. And so to me, this is as much a play design flaw or a happening if we're going to chip that we can't really chip to that side if we're going to run a pivot there, because we have to understand this is a possibility. And sometimes we don't even think about it because it just never comes up in practice. So we assume the back's going to be out of there. His guy's going to be out of there. That's not going to be an issue. And we get into a game and it becomes an issue and it becomes an easy interception and makes the quarterback look bad. But to me, it's just as much scheme oriented as it is quarterback oriented. And like I said, start your eyes left, you work back to the pivot. It's a lot of stuff to see for a quarterback that there's times that you just have to trust things are going to work out and your timing is going to be, based on what's happened before or what we drew up on paper. And then some things happen that just mess it up and lead to interceptions. It was recently shared Bill Walsh's 80-20 rules. We have to control the 80% that we can control, and then there's 20% that is out of our control. And we got to hope that that 20% doesn't lead to those interceptions. So Daniel Jones is doing what he thought he had to do. Look left, not there, get back to the pivot next. If the pivot wins, throw it to the pivot. And then what's out of his control is Jonathan Taylor takes a little bit longer on the chip. His guy's sitting right there in the window that he doesn't see. Boom, interception. Okay, here's another one. Okay, we've got a little RPO. Okay, what are we reading on the RPO? We're reading this guy right here. If Daniel has this guy come, he's got to pop up and hit the RPO right there. So Daniel Jones doing everything right again. Sees it, pulls it. Now he's trying to get it over the top of him and hit this quick hitch right here. And boom, ball gets tipped up. And not only does it get tipped up, right? Okay. All right, good job by the defense. It gets tipped up in the air. But now the whole other side is we're trying to block a guy on the backside and he beats us and the ball just bounces right up into his hands. Okay, yes, this goes as a blemish on Daniel Jones' stat line because he's got another interception here, yet he's doing everything right. The only thing that he doesn't do right, I guess, is avoid the blitzer with the ball. And I can see him trying to release it a little bit higher, trying to get it over the top. He doesn't really have the ability to fall away and change his spot because it's off of an RPO, trying to do everything right, and the defense makes a nice play, and then we're unfortunate. Another defender is just standing there to get the interception. All right? Now here, we're coming back, and this one, okay, we're trying to run a seam and a stop right here. So he's trying to hit this seam in here. And as you can see, bad throw, goes up over the top, misses it, and throws it to the corner. Okay, so this one I would put on Daniel Jones. And it happens later in the game. Trying to come back, trying to make a play. That's always a factor, right? There's certain things when we talk about not being able to control. At this point, we can't control that we're down in this game, and we've got to play comeback, and we've got to take some chances with the football if we're going to get back into it. That's just the nature of this situation. Yeah, we might have been able to control that earlier in the game when things didn't happen and it was 0-0, but now we can't. Now that's out of our control, which forces a quarterback to have to play a little bit different. Now, I would also say that once they drop the safety high down here into a middle close, I'm probably not thinking hit the seam to this side. Okay, so we've got double seam. Okay, we've got our stops on the outside. All right, and then we've got our back. So I would probably, if I see the safety drop down to this side, I'll probably try to work this seam back to the backside and then work to the stop out here and then get to my check down 3. Okay, but he decides to go to that safety side. Okay, so now he's got to fit it in. And again, there's other factors here. You're going to see this seam gets banged. So it ends up being a little bit wider here and kind of messing up the timing a little bit. But with all of those factors that play in, and the fact that this is a missed throw by Daniel. Like even if his guy gets through there, his guy's not going to be able to catch this ball. It's just an errant throw up over the top trying to force one and make a play, and it leads to an interception. Okay, so it happens. All right, we got 3 interceptions in this game, and in those 3 interceptions, we've got 2, to me, that are out of Daniel's control. We've got 1 that is in Daniel's control, and we get 3 interceptions, and they all go to Daniel Jones. And we got people saying, oh, he's not any good, and here we go. We're back to earth again, and this is the Daniel Jones we expected because he threw 3 interceptions. But you look at the interceptions, and how many can you actually put on Daniel Jones? I put 1 on Daniel Jones. There's other happenings, scheme and the way it played out. The other scheme, he was doing everything right, good defensive play, and happened to be lucky and fortunate that it goes right there. And so that so often happens when we look at quarterbacks, we look at their stat line, we want to create a narrative, and we got to go back and we got to have that debate on each and every interception on, is it on the quarterback or is it some other factor?